Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to episode 167 of the Pop Culture History Podcast. I am your host, Mike Larkin, and today we have a special guest. You've heard her on the Mic with Mike. I got back on with me Ginger Lynn, the amazing, the beautiful Miss Ginger Lynn. Ginger, how you doing today?
I'm absolutely wonderful. Thank you. How are you?
I'm good. I gotta say, first and foremost, the episode title is Kinky Business with Ginger Lynn. Ginger, we are approaching the 36-year anniversary of Kinky Business. Can you believe it?
Unbelievable. 36 years. That's just, it can't be. How is that possible? And it's such a good movie. It's one of those that withstands time, I believe.
Of course. I mean, when you look around the time period as well, like you're a year after the iconic Risky Business. Like this is the start of Tom Cruise's as well, like career. We had The Outsiders, we had Risky Business, we had all the right moves. I mean, you're really in like this is the prime right here of like one of the top movies in America, and you guys encompassed that with Kinky Business.
Yeah, that was when the companies just started doing, changing the titles a little bit. You know, I did, instead of the Goonies, I did the Poonies. Instead of Beverly Hills Cop, I did Beverly Hills Cops. Instead of Risky Business, we did Kinky Business. And it was such a wonderful time. I was really lucky back in that time because it was when films were still shot on 35 millimeter. We had scripts, and the scripts were what you based the sex around. You know, you would have all your dialogue, and then on page 9, it would go sex scene. That's all it would say. So it wasn't, you know, that part wasn't scripted out. Whatever happened between the people that were performing, that was, you know, that was their own deal. It wasn't like today, you know, okay, we want these 4 positions and we'll be happy. You know, we just kind of went. The actors, what we did was we would talk to each other. And if you remember, and you've seen the movie, you know, I actually won Best Sex Scene for the shower scene with Tom Byron. And Tommy and I, we didn't plan anything. We just, you know, I worked with him before, so I knew what he liked. He knew what I liked. And we just had such good chemistry that it worked. We didn't have to work at it. It was just real. And I think that's one of the things that I love the most about the films back then is there was no such thing as Viagra. There was no such thing as, you know, people didn't take drugs and able to perform. They were there because they wanted to be. They enjoyed being there. And for a man to be able to perform and be turned on in front of a full film crew, which is what we had back then, you had to be a super stud. You had to really be a man.
I got to tell you something about being a superstar and being a man. That's one of my favorite scenes, yourself and Tom. I look at it like this. I mean, you talk about how everybody has to take, you know, drugs or what have you now, you know, for their performances. I look at it like you. I think that's also the true, like, what's true about love and what really encompasses an overall relationship. You saw the raw, you saw the passion in that scene, and it really holds up till today.
Well, I appreciate that. And if I didn't have the passion and I wasn't into it, I would not have done it. And I did it for the reason that I quit after 2 years and 3 months is because of the day that I woke up. And rather than being excited, going, yay, I'm going to go blow this person's day, I woke up and went, I don't want to do anything with anybody today. And I knew my head wasn't in the right place anymore. So that's the day that I actually made the decision to quit. And I told myself that when I got into it. I said, you know, if there comes a day where I don't feel good about it, it's going to mess with my head too much. And I think that one of the things that the women need to be really careful of today, all of the new women coming into the industry and all the, you know, there's a lot of camming going on and things. But I just get afraid that the girls, they're doing too much too soon for too little. And they're burnt out, they're used up, and it's just it's a meat market. It's an assembly line. It used to be the flavor of the month. It's now the flavor of the hour. You know, it's such a transient industry.
I mean, of course. I mean, you look at not to cut you off, but you look at camming nowadays, and I mean, back in the day, I mean, I'll say it around the golden ages, we're talking about like the 80s and the 90s. I mean, this is before like the social medias really hit it big. Like yourself and so many great people that encompass the adult entertainment industry, you really got to see just everybody's hard work and grit going into it, again, before the days of really the internet and social media coming into fruition.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I don't mean to sound like one of those, you know, older people going, back in my day, it was so much better. I consider myself lucky to have been in the industry when I was. It truly was the golden age. I got in just at the end of it, but I was still there. So the first year that I filmed, I made my first film in December of 83, and then I worked into 84 and then went under contract with Vivid in 85. So I was able to see the change from film to video. I became the first contract girl, but I was exclusive only for video. I was still allowed to do films. So it worked out really well for me because there were still enough big budget movies being made that between, what I made doing with my contract and my monthly and everything, it was a great situation. I couldn't have asked to be in it at a better time. I'm talking the red carpets and one of my little prima donna things that I did. I'll tell you why I did it. The thing is, you never really want to eat when you're on a set. Just you've got things going on, and most of the girls avoid eating, but I would get hungry. This is when we were shooting 16, 18-hour days, so I would always have the caterer had to bring steamed artichokes for me. That way I could just eat a leaf and I would feel like I ate something, but I wouldn't put on any weight. Nothing would go through my system. So those back in the good old artichoke days.
Well, I mean, I will say this. I mean, I've said this to you the last time we spoke, but you look amazing still today. You look absolutely beautiful. You're doing your thing on the yoga front. I've seen a lot of your posts. I got to put that over like you really do. And I've always believed in the mindset of beauty, strength, and dominance, the three key elements that make women the work of art that they are. So given that, I like to say that encompasses and accentuates you, Miss Ginger Lynn.
Oh, you were so incredibly sweet. You just made my day.
Oh, you're very welcome.
Thank you.
No, but I mean,
Thank you very much.
Oh, you're so welcome. But I look at the artichoke stuff, but yeah, I mean, when you're shooting 16, 18 hours a day, and I mean, since this is a pop culture show, I look at it like this. Like, as a 90s baby, I'm 27 years old, gonna be 28 in April. Like, I remember the days of making the video and saw, like, the shoots and how, like, all these artists would put into their music videos and so on and so forth. So, yeah, I could see that.
Right.
I mean, exactly. So you see that,
yeah,
like, whether
exactly.
it be like, so you see that with the adult entertainment industry and really any art form, just like the amount of shoots that you did. And I think this film, I'll be honest, you did your best as the Rebecca De Mornay of the film. So, I mean, like, you killed it all on all fronts.
I was having fun. That was the first premiere that I ever went to. And it was first, so I'd never seen myself in film. I didn't watch my movies. Never had, didn't want to, just did them and moved on. But we had a red carpet premiere at the Pussycat Theater. And I remember going in and I sat probably a third or two-thirds of the way back on an aisle seat. And I'm watching the movie and I'm watching myself and my dialogue, and I'm like, oh, I need to take acting lessons, and things are going through my head. And then the scene with Tommy comes up, and all I could think about was how stupid I looked with my cheeks sunken in with the dick in my mouth. And the water running down my face. I literally started to cry, and I got up and I ran out of the theater because I just thought I looked really stupid with that in my mouth. Well, I'd never seen it before. I didn't know what I looked like with that there.
You know what's funny is, like, when you look at, like if people want to, like, Google search or search that scene with you and Tom, I mean, the ultimate thumbnail is you with what you're describing and your blonde hair and the wetness of it. I think that also makes the appeal of it. And I also look at it as art from an art standpoint. I mean, you have that eye. It's what one's eye really appeals to and goes to, so you get to see that great imagery that is that scene. So from an artistic type of standpoint and from what meets the eye, I think you hit it on all cylinders.
Well, looking back now, I feel completely different about it. I can look at my things today and go, you know what? I was having a good time, and you can tell. I'm not saying, oh, I was great. I'm saying I was having a good time, and you could tell. And, I don't know what made me as popular as I became, other than all I can think of is that I brought my real personality to the set with me every day. And what you saw, what you see is what you get. I'm me all the time. I don't put on, a Ginger Lynn persona or, it's just me.
And you also, just going back to for a second, like you could tell you're having fun, and I guess this also ties back to the social media. I'll make 2 points here. The first point I'll make here is that you look at social media now, everybody, it's all about having fun, but whatever job, whatever career, whatever endeavor, so to speak, that you pursue, you see nowadays it's just all about, oh, how many numbers do I have? How many followers? We kind of like lose like what it's really about is having fun and the overall professionalism of it. We all kind of just look at it as now it's just numbers and followers. It's kind of like a popularity contest as it was back in the day.
It really is. It really is. And, I admire the women that do what they do today. I wish them all the best. I want them to be happy and healthy and enjoy what they do and make a lot of money and not compromise their integrity. I go all the way. I'm just saying, for me personally, I wouldn't do it today. But the women that are following, I think it would behoove them to take a peek at some of the old classic films, because it's not all about spitting and smacking and shoving this there and doing that. The passion seems to have gone away. I had a woman on my podcast recently, and we were talking about, performing, and she's married, and she said that the reason her marriage works is because when she goes to work, she goes to work. There's no intimacy, no attraction, no physical desire. It's a job. And so that's how she and her husband can deal with it. Whereas if I ever went to work, sorry about that.
No problem.
If I ever went to work and I felt like it was a job or I would not have been able to do it. And I want to make sure that the people that do get into the industry today realize that, you're going to be out there forever. It's not going to go away. And so you need to be really mentally strong and ready for it. And sadly, because of the internet, there are people out there that are just complete assholes who, shame the girls. And we've had quite a few suicides over the last couple of years, just because girls are getting shamed by other girls, by people in the industry, by people outside of the industry. So the social aspect of it, the social networking, has its good side and it has its negative side. I do not personally read any of my Facebook, my Instagram, my Twitter until my manager has gone through it and deleted anything that is negative. So I don't see my negative stuff, because I can see 1,000 wonderful emails a day, and you get that one mean one, and it throws me off for the rest of the day. So I'm fortunate that I'm protected, that I'm sure that there's a lot of people that, have nothing better to do than to cut me down. But anyway.
Oh, no, you're fine. I'll be honest with you. I appreciate that rant, and I'll follow up with you on that. I mean, we live in a society today where, like you mentioned, the term shaming. I mean, whether it's body shaming, slut shaming as it's known. I mean, there's so many shames out there, and I'll be honest with you. We going back to that art form that is women, beauty, strength, and dominance. I look at it like this. As a man, through my 27 years of age, I've had girls, I'll be honest with you, that I've been friendly with and that have flirted with me using the two words that begin with the letter F, that have been, whether it be curvy, whether it be skinny, it doesn't matter. As long as you could see the internal beauty and the external beauty, it's wonderful. You look at the Temptation song, beauty is only skin deep. She may be fine on the outside, but so untrue on the inside. Once you have that fine person that intertwines and interconnects with the soul, I mean, that's beautiful right there. So I think we all have to take a break from social media as well.
Yeah, that was one of the beautiful things about filming back then, is I found that with 99% of the people I worked with. I was fortunate enough that I had script and cast approval for almost all of my projects. So I got to choose who I was going to be that way with, and I knew who I had the best chemistry with. And I wouldn't give that up for the world. I mean, what a great job that I have. I did something that I loved doing with people I loved doing it with, and I got paid for it.
I think what's great about to you is, isn't it funny, isn't it interesting how people like yourself and people in the industry from this golden age time period, like, you're resonating, you're generating, you're inspiring a lot of girls to get into the adult entertainment industry because they said, hey, I saw that scene with yourself and Tom in Kinky Business, or I saw Ginger Lynn do this, do that, with what you're doing with your radio show, which we'll get into in a second. But how amazing is that you're resonating and generating with the public?
It's amazing. It's wonderful, and it makes me feel like I've paid it forward in a way. You know, my job was to make my partner and my viewers feel good, and I did that to the best of my ability just by purely enjoying myself. So it was really a very selfish act.
Well, let me tell you something. Selfish or not, I mean, I think what's great about you is you have to have that experience, like we were talking about with your partners, to make the great film. Like the old saying goes, it takes two to tango, and you and Tom did that and encompassed that with that shower scene.
Oh, absolutely. There was no doubt about it. And I remember vividly being on my knees and looking up at Tommy and the water splashing down in my face. And it's just the whole, I can see the scene from my looking at Tommy, my POV, but I can also step back and view the entire scene because now, I have seen it, and it's amazing. It's so real. It's so honest. It's so pure.
Oh yeah,
and that's what made it wonderful.
Oh yeah, and I think that's what you need to have is pure. And like you know what it is kind of too, and I'll make a 2008 reference. When you saw Zach and Miri make a porno, I'm talking about Elizabeth Banks, I'm talking about Seth Rogen. Like what's funny is it's like when they're shooting the film, right? So everybody else is just like, okay, here's your shot, here's your shot. But when you have two people like Zach and Miri, Seth Rogen, Elizabeth Banks' character, when they shoot their scene, you feel the genuineness, you feel the loviness, you feel the raw, you feel the passion, because that's what's really what makes sex and what makes love worth having. It's just the two, the connection between the two people.
I completely agree with you. Completely. Or 3 or 4 or 5, depending.
Hey, depending on your preference, yes. And again, nothing wrong with that. I mean, you're just spreading the love, sharing the love. Dare I ask, like Black Eyed Peas, where is the love? The love is right there in those scenes and everything around you. So there you go.
Absolutely.
Now, I got to ask you as well, like we're talking about the 80s, like Jerry Butler, Tom, yourself, like an incredible cast for Kinky Business. Now, you're also around the early 80s time where like Michael Jackson's Thriller is a big deal. You got Van Halen asking you might as well jump. You have the influx and the introduction of music television that is MTV. What an amazing time period for you and in the world all in all itself for pop culture.
Well, and it's funny because I actually do remember, you know the band Styx, right?
Yes, I do.
Well, Tommy Shaw was the lead singer of Styx, and Tommy Shaw was doing a music video, when he went out on his own, and I was hired to be in the video. And what they did was, I had to dance. I just kind of stood there and danced in a certain way, or stayed within a certain space. And what they did in post was they had Tommy playing my body as a guitar as I was dancing. It was just really, really cool. So it looked like he was playing my body as the guitar. But the video is banned from MTV and never made it. It was too risque. So that was my Tommy Shaw video story. That was it.
Well, I'll be honest with you, and I have seen that video, but I look at it like this. I mean, when you talk about...
Oh, you have seen it?
I have seen the video, yes. I
haven't seen it.
It resurfaced on like YouTube for like very briefly, but I think somebody took it down because somebody complained. It's one of those things where you see it on YouTube and then like years later it's not there anymore because it was taken out for copyright or some bullcrap. Yeah, I do remember seeing that video. Again, teenager here. So you go...
I never saw it. Was it cool?
It was. It was very cool. I thought it was... You know what it is too? It's 80s stuff. Like, I'm a sucker for old school stuff. My parents got me into that stuff, man. So, I mean, like, I remember my dad having a Poison CD in his car. I remember my mom being big into Thriller. Like, all different genres of music. So, if you give me a music video that it really encompasses like that... Like, look at music videos nowadays now.
Right.
Well, look at music videos nowadays now. Like, you used to premiere it on MTV, premiere it on BET, VH1, what have you. Now, all it is pretty much we go on YouTube, and there it is on their Vivo or their YouTube channel. So, I mean, it's a different time right now.
Exactly.
But yeah, no, I remember watching. But yeah, I remember watching. It was very good, and you were amazing as well. It's kind of like, look at Tawny Katane in the Whitesnake video. Here I go again. It's that sex appeal, Ginger.
Yeah. Well, another album that I did a few things. Do you remember the band Danger Danger?
Yes, I do.
All right, Danger Danger did an album called Monkey Business, and there's the song Monkey Business, and there are two girls that are moaning and making love making the sounds. And it's actually me and my girlfriend standing there in front of the microphone playing with each other and making the sounds.
I think the one that really also got me with you is I believe you did Turn the Page, right? Metallica's cover of Turn the Page.
Oh, yes. That's one of my proudest pieces of work. It was just such a wonderful opportunity. And there's a funny little story that goes along with that I don't know if I've told you before. Stop me if I have.
No, go ahead.
But they had asked me to be in the video. My agent, said that Metallica wanted me to be in the video. And it was after I'd done the Tommy Shaw, and it didn't get was banned with the whole thing. And I was like, I don't want to be a B movie bimbo or MTV bimbo, and so I turned the role down. And for 3 months, they persisted. They kept going after me. And I was in a hotel. I was on tour featuring, and this is before cell phones. This is like 1998, I believe. So, everybody didn't have them. But I'm in a hotel lobby checking out, and my agent calls the front desk and says, all right, Jonas Ackerlund, the director, is at the Chateau Marmont. He's going to be there. Can you see him tonight? I'm like, I'm wearing overalls. My hair's in a ponytail. I've got a 2-year-old on my hip, a nanny and a bodyguard behind me. I said, I'm getting on a plane in a few minutes here. I will fly back to LA and I will go there, but he's got to take me as I am, and I'll just get the meeting over with, and then I can just be done with this. And so I went in, and part of the reason I didn't want to do it was I didn't want to be that, it wasn't the next career move that I wanted to make. Put it that way. I lost my train of thought.
Oh, no, you're fine. You were just talking about you didn't want that to be your career you make. I mean, I could see, a lot of people define it as like...
Oh.
Yeah, good.
So what happened was, I had no intentions of wanting to do something for that reason, but also I grew up as a huge Bob Seger fan. Mm-hmm. I love Bob Seger. And I was afraid that Metallica was going to bastardize one of my favorite songs. So I had both those things going, and I go to the hotel, and my entourage is down in the lobby, and I'm upstairs with Jonas, and he tells me the story. I'm sorry?
Oh, no, I was saying, you said you tell you the story. Go ahead.
Oh, I thought I heard you say something.
No, go ahead.
So Jonas Ackerlund, the director, is there, and he knows that I'm not really interested in the role, and he says, well, here's the thing. He goes, all my life, all I've ever wanted to do is produce music videos. But what I've had to do, or what I've done for years, is produce circuses. He produced, like Cirque du Soleil type of circuses. Mm-hmm. And he said, and then I woke up one day and went, what am I doing? I want to be a video director. And for him, that was the day he turned the page. And he described my exiting the industry as me turning the page. And so he just got me with his words. And I was doing the role. And so that was on a Sunday. And so Monday, my agent calls back and says, they're not going to use you. I'm like, what? What do you mean they don't want me anymore? They just met me. And he said they thought you needed to look a lot older and more haggard. You look too good. And I'm like, no, I can eat, nachos and ice cream for the next week. And we can use spirit gum. And so they actually did. They used makeup to make me look older and harsher. And I put on about 10 pounds for the role. And then I ended up doing it, and it being one of the things that I'm the most proud of. And Jonas not only made it into the music video, but he made a short film out of it that won awards.
Of course. And I look at it like this. First and foremost, with the video, one of the best videos of Metallica. Again, you look fabulous. You're also around the time when they had like Enter Sandman. And look at Bob Seger as well, Old Time Rock and Roll, which ties back to Risky Business and then Kinky Business. So, you're around for a lot of great time periods. This is the entrance of Metallica with the 90s and stuff and how big that they were in the early 90s until now. And then you look at Bob Seger, the classic timeless hits like Night Grooves, Old Time Rock and Roll, and Turn the Page.
Exactly.
So that's what really encompasses it with those words and the overall videos.
Yep, exactly.
I gotta say with you, Miss Ginger Lynn, I gotta say this is why I love talking to you. I mean, you're always so vibrant. You got great energy, and I gotta tell you something right now. I love the chemistry and the dynamic that we have. And I'm gonna say this right now. I have a couple final questions, but anytime you want to come back on with me, pop culture, my interview show, you're more than welcome. I always love having you on.
Oh, thank you. I always love coming on. I really appreciate it.
Oh, you're very welcome.
I'm very comfortable with you, and you do a good interview.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I mean, I try. Like I said, I look at it like this. I mean, everybody has a story to tell. We have all of us as podcasters have this platform to give the people, give them the chance to tell their stories and just shoot the breeze. So it's always a pleasure and it's always a privilege.
No, and I feel the same way. So thank you.
Oh, you're very welcome. So I got to ask you though, man. You and the Ginger and Rose show, you doing your own thing as well, podcasting as well, man. You got some great shows, and I love your work on that front too.
Thank you. Yeah, we finished our first season of the Ginger and Rose Show. We've got 10 episodes in the can, and we're gearing up for the next season. I've got a lot of things going on right now. My book is 75% done. Yesterday was the deadline I gave myself to have it finished, and there's just too many stories to tell and too many things. So it's not. I've given myself another 6 weeks. For my first final draft, and I'm looking for it to be out within the next year. So I'm really excited about it. Did you ever read? It's similar. No, I don't want to tell too much about it.
Okay. No spoilers.
Yeah, you're just gonna have to wait. It's gonna be. It should be out within the next year and a half.
And I think what's great is
as I said it.
Well, yeah, we were talking about this before, and I don't mean to cut you off, but I think what's great about it is your story and your legacy throughout the industry and your overall career. I mean, it speaks for itself. I mean, that's going to be a great and interesting read and a lot of insight into the industry from you.
Well, what's been really fun lately is basically the book is a series of over 100 stories. And so the stories, it's kind of like the book, I Hope They Serve Beer in Hell, where, the chapter, each incident is within itself a story. So I didn't start with, I was born here and then that happened, this happened. They're individual stories, and the way that they're tied together, and they go in chronological order, so that makes sense. But what happened was, as I was writing these, you're hearing about all of my crazy, wild, wonderful, horrible, whatever I was doing, which was always something outrageous. So you're hearing these stories, but you're not really getting to know me. You're getting to know the things that I'm willing to do. So there's a chapter in my book called Enough About Me, What Do You Think of Me? And different people that I know from the industry, from mainstream, Jonas, Christy Canyon, Scotty Schwartz, Nina Hartley. I've got about 50 people, my ex-bodyguard, my best friend growing up. The chapter called Enough About Me, What Do You Think of Me? Is where my friends or enemies, I encourage anyone who wants to write anything they can, and I'll put it in the book. It's whatever your impression of me is. Maybe it's a memory of something we did together. Maybe it's a story of something that, we shouldn't have done together, whatever it may be. And the stories are starting to come in, and they're just amazing. And so you get to know me through other people, because I'm not going to sit there and go, oh, I'm a really nice person, and, I adopted 2 kids in Africa, and they did, it's just not my style to do that. But I wanted people to know about me a little bit more than I was willing to divulge without feeling like I was being vain. So I let my friends and enemies do that for me.
Well, I got to tell you, I can't wait to read it. I mean, I'll put the links as well to the Ginger and Ro show. I got to tell you, the dynamic that you and Ro have, whether you're giving great insight, talking about the industry, and just overall having fun. I mean, I believe there's an episode with a foot rub as well. So, I mean, there's a lot of great stuff, and it's very entertaining, Ginger.
Yeah, we had a lot of, Ro and I have great chemistry, and mixing comedy with adults, somebody's going to feel uncomfortable. And that's where I find good radio is when you've got, people that aren't all in agreement. You want people that don't understand what the other one's talking about. You want different points of view, different opinions. And that's what Ro and I do with the Ginger and Ro show. And it's available through Patreon, or you can see it on YouTube. We've got it up. So you can see, you can find, and if you want to find me in social media, my handle is always Blame It on Ginger. So if it doesn't say Blame It on Ginger, it's not the real Ginger Lynn, and there's a lot of fakes out there. So look for that. And then what I've been doing a lot of, and I think we talked about this a little bit the last time, is my artwork.
Yes.
And it's still going. I get so attached to my paintings. And I have a 140-pound Rottweiler. And he's like Clifford the Big Red Dog. He has no idea how big he is, he's just a really big, dumb dog that's scary as hell. And I did a painting of him recently, and I did him in rainbow colors, but I used the shapes and the colors to make his muscles look like they were ripped, and it looks like you've got this beefy Rottweiler sitting there staring at you. And then I painted his head really intricately in the colors with one big floppy ear hanging over. And I didn't want it to sell. I put it up and it sold right away. I'm not done enjoying it. So, my artwork is available at gingerlynnart.com. And if you see something you like, grab it while you can, because things go quickly once I put new stuff up.
I look at it like this. You're kind of like the female Bob Ross. When like the Bob Ross used to do The Joy of Painting. He used to be on WLIW Channel 21 here in New York. Yo, when Bob Ross would put like the mountains and the sky, by the end of the 30 minutes, you got a masterpiece. So that's kind of what you're doing. You're kind of channeling your inner Bob Ross, if you will. God rest his soul.
There you go. There you go.
And then and I'll make another pop culture reference. When you talk about Blame It on Ginger, T-Pain had a song with Jamie Foxx. It was called Blame It on the Alcohol. We all could blame it on Ginger. I would suggest you following her on Twitter. I believe as well, Instagram as well, or do you not really do Instagram, Ginger?
No, I do Instagram.
Oh, good.
Instagram is Blame It on Ginger as well.
Okay, just wanted to check because, man, I got to tell you something, people. With social media, everybody has their preferences. It's a beautiful thing, but I just want to make sure. So Twitter, Instagram, or artwork, The Ginger and Rose Show, I'm going to say this. There's Jack of all trades. You're one of the Jill of all trades. You're doing your thing, Ginger, and I wish you nothing but continued success.
Thank you. And I cook.
Oh.
What else can you ask for?
Hey, a way to a man's heart is through his stomach. I got to tell you so much. Manja, coming from a Thai family, manja. Get you some of that food in your belly. Hell yes.
That's right. Well, next time when we get to see each other for an interview, I will cook you something to eat.
Oh, please. Thank you. Manja, I love you. Thank you so much for that. Well, I got to say this as well, Ginger.
Welcome.
Thank you. But before we even close this out, Ginger, do you have any final words for your fans? I'll give you the floor as well to say anything to your fans.
Oh, I love you, and I thank you, and I wouldn't be anywhere without you. Please keep following me on my journey.
I got to tell you something, people. This woman, not only is she lovely, she's a true pro. Ginger Lynn, my name is Mike Larkin. This will conclude episode 167 of the Pop Culture History Podcast, Kinky Business with Ginger Lynn. And Ginger Lynn, I appreciate your time as always. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike.
All right, guys. We'll talk to you in the next
Bye-bye.
episode. Bye.